If you have a slideshow on your photography website homepage, we need to talk. In this short video, I'll try to argue against the classic full screen slideshow and give you some clear options on what you can replace it with. I consider photo sliders a missed opportunity, especially when they take up the entire homepage with nothing else underneath. Sure, such a big slideshow has some sort of wow factor because of the sheer size of the images, but that wow factor is actually diminished by the problems they create. First of all, I don't think that slideshows are fully viewed anyway. These days, people are so impatient and they're no longer willing to sit through an entire slideshow of images. Instead, they just want to be in complete control of over their website navigation and to just go and find the information they're looking for very quickly. So slideshows are just a bit too boring and they're not being used anyway. So that's why I feel they're a missed opportunity. Second of all, they can affect performance because a slideshow is basically just a list of large images with larger file sizes, of course, and that can bring the page load speeds, make them longer, especially on the home page, which is the most important page on your website. So performance is affected, and last but not least, SEO, because depending on how your theme, your template is coded, it might cause SEO problems. All the slideshow images might not have alt tags. They might not even be inside image HTML elements. They might just be displayed as background images, or the theme might use H1 tags for the slides. It could really be a mess. And just finally, I feel that slideshows can give out the wrong first impression. And those first impressions are incredibly important since people mostly see the first few slideshow images at most. They kind of immediately create a mental model of your website, of you as a photographer, based on what they saw in those first couple of images. So are you really sure that your very first slideshow image conveys the full range of your photography business? Are you kind of naively hoping that people will sit obediently through your 20 plus image slideshow to just build an informed impression? I don't think so. So let's explore some options for what you can replace full screen slideshows with. The first idea is, if you're keen on keeping a slideshow for their visual impressiveness, make them shorter. Use a panoramic aspect ratio because that has a couple of advantages. It doesn't occupy the entire fold, so it lets people start seeing critical information underneath. In this particular example, this is a best of slideshow. It has a very wide 8:3 aspect ratio, and it just doesn't take up too much vertical space. It shows the tagline underneath, and it's stylish. So I think it's a good solution. The same thing is attempted by this other website, but you can kind of barely see the tagline underneath. So what I would do, even though this is a 2:1 aspect ratio for the slideshow, I would just make it even shorter in height so you can see the tagline straight away on an HD resolution, 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is a resolution that many laptops use. So it makes sense to do that. This other example just shows a video section that's full width, and it's kind of cropped to a panoramic aspect ratio. At least on desktop. I think on mobile it reverts to a normal aspect ratio, but on desktop it looks panoramic, so it allows the next couple of elements to fit above the fold, so you can see the subscribe section and you can start to see the tagline underneath. It could be brought higher up, but it's a pretty good compromise. Here's another simple example of a very panoramic slideshow. It's just there to showcase a few images, to set the mood, and to not get in the way too much, to let people explore the other sections underneath. This is an example I wanted to show you because it's not a panoramic slideshow and you don't yet see the tagline underneath. So I think everything could be more compact. It happens because you have the info bar at the top, which I think is just temporary, and the entire navigation menu, the header, is very tall as well. It could be made more compact, but it's a good example because this slideshow ticks a few other boxes. It shows the edges of the next and previous images to kind of create interest, and the animations are very fast so you don't get bored easily, and you can swipe left and right to change images, which is great for having control, plus you have the arrows and the bullets underneath. So it ticks a few other boxes. Here's another example of a large full screen, full width slideshow. You have a lot of information underneath, but the tagline here is not visible. So again, this slideshow could be kept but made shorter in height by, I don't know, 20-30% to allow the tagline to be visible straight away underneath. Okay, that's option number one for you. Option number two is to keep a large slideshow or a single image, but have an info box overlaid on top of it, some sort of text or a call to action or a semi-transparent box like in this example with your website tagline. What is your website all about? What's your specialty? What's your location? And where do you want visitors to go next? I think this provides more clarity straight away, and it's like I said, an opportunity to include a call to action button front and center. This is a particularly good example. It shows the location, the specialty, something to differentiate them as a photographer, and then a clear call to action to explore the services. This other website has just 3 slides in total, and each of them has this box on the left which contains information about their specialty and some reasons and benefits of working with them. It works well. It's still visually impressive because the slideshow is very large, but you do have some information on it. Another beautiful draggable carousel of vertical images. You can swipe left and right to change images, but it's partially covered by this info box, which kind of contains, a photographer bio, the portrait image, a link, social media icons. So it's just a much better design than the overused full screen slideshows on many wedding photography websites out there. It just stands out because it's elegant and it provides information straight away. This website has a single large image with text with just a tagline overlay here. It's just a specialty and some sort of tagline here, just to give a bit more context. Plus, this hero image, the single image, is not that tall. It's in a panoramic aspect ratio, so you can start seeing more signals underneath, signals that there's more to scroll for. So it's just another example of not making the slideshow or the large or the single image too large. Don't make them full screen on the homepage. This one's quite a unique example. I built this website many years ago for a wedding photography couple, and it's a single full screen background image, and it goes edge to edge, so even the header on the left goes on top of it, and it's covered by the logo, the tagline, an introductory paragraph, and a prominent call to action to start exploring the website pages. So full screen images can work, but only if you don't block information from being seen or read. It's just a background image here. It doesn't take up the entire homepage. It's just there as a design element underneath. You might know Jimmy Nelson's website. He's a very popular photographer. And he also has a full screen slider. Just to show you another example that it can be done, but each slide has information on top of it to promote a product or a section on the website. You know, it has a title, a description, and a call to action button. And if you look more closely at this example, you can kind of spot a few other nice touches. So on the text area on the right, there's a discrete dark overlay, so the white text is visible on whatever image he ended up choosing. Text position, if you switch slides, the text position alternates left and right to avoid monotony, and the images are carefully chosen, so the text never covers the point of focus in the photos. So it's a well-controlled slideshow here, and it works. But once again, it's not just images. It's text on top of the images with call to action buttons. If you do it like this, it works. Another quick example I wanted to show you is using a panoramic static image, but it's a preview of a panoramic print on a wall with extra text on top of it. It's a simple collage. It's a simple image done in Photoshop, but it also immediately spells out what the website is all about, instead of just being only a landscape image here and then having to read the text underneath, because it would have been a missed opportunity. But doing it like so, it's a great way to keep the information available straight away above the fold. And this is another example. It's a custom-made panoramic photo, a single image. It's done in Photoshop fairly easily. It's a portrait and some text to introduce visitors to the photographer and his work, and it just works. Okay. Option number 3 that you can use on your homepage is to use a grid of images. And I think this has a few other advantages, one of which is that you can showcase more range, more variety as a photographer, because showing more images together can help visitors create a better impression of your work instead of them judging you based on one single photo. Plus, and that's why I wanted to bring in this particular example, people can click on the thumbnails on the images in the grid here to open them up in a full screen lightbox slideshow if they wanted to. So it's kind of best of both worlds, right? You're showing them variety at first, and if they do want to sit and enjoy the photos large, they can click on them to open them in a full screen lightbox slideshow. So, and it kind of, the homepage becomes kind of a best of portfolio, a small one, sure, but you might not need a dedicated page for that unless you want to, like in this example. Here's another example of a grid on the homepage. This website has this huge grid of images, each one linking to their respective portfolio page, and they're all intentionally displayed very large in this 2-column full width grid. And the large photos and the lack of paddings and column gaps. There are no spacings between the photos. They all make up for a very clean, minimalistic look. This is another approach you can take on your website. This is a nice, simple example for photographers who have two specialties fighting for attention on the same website. This website just breaks the entire introductory section into 2 columns, and that's it. 2 photos, but at least they spell out the specialties and they have call to action buttons straight away. Another simple example here of a grid of images. In this case, you have the logo, which shows a bird, and maybe a single large photo would have been enough to clarify this photographer's specialty, sure. But kind of seeing this entire grid of bird photos proves her experience in this particular niche and makes you trust her more. So that's another advantage of using a grid. When I said that it shows more variety, more range of your work, it's all about building more trust, and showing more images can do that, can help you do that. And one last example here. This is an image grid, but it's an irregular grid. It shows the incredible range of work done by this pet photographer, and this grid layout is playful, it's fun, it's colorful, so it's all very appealing to the target audience for their business, and you don't want to lose sight of this. All the design decisions you're making are not for you as the website owner, they are for your target audience. They need to like your website, they need to trust you, they need to take some sort of action and get in touch with you. Okay, so this is a great example of an image grid. It's a bit too tall for my taste. I would love to have it smaller and start to see the tagline underneath, but it's beautifully designed and it's fun and it works well. Plus, this website is incredible for this image grid because you can actually click on the photos to read captions on the side, and you also have an extra full screen button to enjoy the photos in all their glory. So it works well on multiple levels, but just when you load the homepage, the image grid is very effective. Okay, that was option 3, and option 4 for you is to have some sort of custom collage of images. Whether it's with a text overlay or not, doing something custom can have a few advantages, mainly because it looks more stylish. So if it's done correctly, it can really make your website stand out from the crowd a bit. This particular website has this horizontal array of overlapping photos, and you'll notice it features the portrait of tennis player Venus Williams prominently in the center to make it stand out, but all the other ones show the range of the photographer. This example just shows a very simple 3-photo collage to the right of the strong tagline and a call to action button. So once again, we started arguing against those classic full screen slideshows, but this sort of setup is so simple, but it's much more effective at conversions, and it's something I recommend. And one last example here, it's another irregular image grid. What I like about it is that it's a bit interactive, meaning when you hover over the boxes, you get different buttons, different call to action buttons to guide people to various sections in your website. It's a nice touch, and if you test it out on mobile, the buttons show up automatically, directly, because there's no hover event on mobile. But on desktop, it looks really cool. Okay. You can check out all these examples and a lot more tips, and I have an FAQ as well on the full article on my website. You can find it at foregroundweb.com. And I also included tips on improving your existing slideshow. So if I wasn't able to convince you to replace the full screen slideshow with something else, like an image grid, at least do the work of improving your existing slideshow. I've included a lot of tips here, how you can give people a bit more control and to make the slideshows better for user experience and SEO. Be sure to check out the article on my website. And if you do need help from someone to design your homepage or to build an entire photography website for you, be sure to check out my web design page where I list out all the services I offer exclusively for photographers. Okay, hope this helped. Bye for now.